taking time out of what I know are extremely busy days and lives to come down here and spend some time with your peers, learning about what's going on in the industry, learning how, frankly, you can get better at everything that you do. I'd like to thank ISSA Kentuckiana, because these conferences, believe it or not, don't just organize themselves. There's a whole lot of work and pain and effort and late nights that go into pulling together an event like this. You don't just go out and call a hike and say, hey, we're going to have a few friends over. You don't make that happen for us. I'd like to thank the speakers for the exact same reason. I mean, pretty much everyone who's going to talk today probably spent a fair amount of time out of their nights, their weekends, and pulling together we're going to be some great talks. I'm hopefully going to be able to sneak in on a few of those. The talk on DNS security, for example. I don't know if y'all saw Bruce Schneier wrote, I think it was last week, about how somebody is systematically figuring out how to break the internet. And so understanding what we can and can't secure and defend at a lot of structural levels is going to be increasingly important in the years ahead. There's workload security and container security. I think that's going to be a great talk. And that's something where if you don't think that's going on in your organization, unless your organization is small enough, you know everyone, you're probably just not looking hard enough. Have a chance, you can probably get enough at least buzzword compliance to where you're going to be able to go in and have a conversation with those guys before they start doing things that are going to be headaches in your lives down the road. The CASB talk. If you're not thinking about CASB, you should be. I'd love to have a conversation with anybody who wants to talk about CASB, because that's kind of the great greenfield for security problems that we need to be solving these days. That's cloud access security broker, by the way. And then lastly, I'd like to thank all the exhibitors and sponsors, because just like this conference didn't organize itself, it also didn't pay for itself. So thank you all for your commitment, your time, your support. It helps events like this succeed and grow going forward. And so personally, I come from Nexus, and we are a security-specific reseller. We were founded based on what we call 5 pillars. And that to me kind of dates when our corporate strategy was set. Once upon a time, I was basically the floor being in like an IT house model. So we have 5 pillars. First is that we select and work with best-of-breed partners in every area that we operate in and we settle in. And so that gives me the latitude where it's not like just Cisco partner. And we're going to sell you whatever Cisco thinks should be answered your call. I'm meeting with companies. I'm out at RSA. There were over 900 exhibitors this year, and I tried to talk to all of them to figure out, who was solving problems that maybe we weren't aware of, or we wanted to introduce to people because we felt they were doing great things. Along with that is for some of our more important partners, we provide level 1 and level 2 support. We provide engineering services for analysis, for we do assessment and pen testing, we also do deployment services, upgrades. We can work with you, whether you need us to plan, manage, deploy the environment, come and do a break fix troubleshooting, whatever it might be, we can do that. And I'm very proud to say that my team has some of the best engineers I've ever had the privilege of working with. We provide training, an authorized training center for a number of our partners. And then finally, along with that, is that we have managed services available. So there's a lot of organizations who simply cannot get the resources, we don't have the time to monitor their security tools, they don't have the resources to manage those security tools, and we can do that for those. And that's really, probably one of the great challenges of security today is resource shortages. And it's one of the interesting problems we run into is that nobody ever seems to take money. If you've got enough money, you probably can't get the people you need to actually effectively deploy and utilize the tools that someone gave you budget you off. If you've got enough people, you're still going to find that you don't have enough. And so everything comes down to this shortage of time. And whether that is time to get it all done, the time to detect when things are going off the rails, whether it's an outage occurring, it is something bad happening that's indicative of a breach, and then once you detect something going on, time to respond before damage is done. And And we see this every year. The Verizon Data Breach report comes out, and they talk about how incidents and breaches occur in time frames of, depending on what it is, minutes to hours to maybe days. And detection and response frequently runs days to weeks to months. And so anything that we can do to help close that gap between those two numbers is going to help us as security practitioners to be better at our jobs, to basically be more valuable to our organization. And so one of the things that we're looking at now are identifying tools that are friendly towards that automation and orchestration, that ability to detect with very low false positive rates, so that then you can have them initiate response through integration with other tools. And so that brings me to our first partner that I'd like to have up here today, is Mike Drummond from Pollack. They have been a real leader in forward-thinking API integration with other partners. And so he's going to tell us a little bit about how Pollack's able to add value in that scenario. And so Mike, take it away.
Hello everyone, I'm Mike Drummond with Pollack Security. I'm here with my colleague Ryan Murphy, who, as we go through the day, if you have any questions about my presentation or anything to do with Pollack or PowerShell attacks or whatever you want to talk about, feel free to stop by and talk to Ryan. I'll figure out where that's at. So ultimately, my goal today is 20 minutes, not very long time. But we're going to go through a high level and talk about just PowerShell and how it works in our environment, why it's good, and then why it's bad. And then we'll start focusing, instead of the good, we'll focus on the bad. That's why we're all here today, to see the bad. And I'll actually show, I'll go through and do a quick attack and leveraging a macro and show how we can leverage PowerShell for an attack. And then based on what I go through and I do to the back end with PowerShell attack, I'm going to show how, as a system administrator, you can actually determine what just occurred. So we're going to see all that. It'll be a brief PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll get ready for the demo, which I think is, to me, more entertaining than watching a slideshow. If it's not, let me know, and we can go through PowerPoints longer if you like. So look, a couple questions we have is, what is PowerShell? Why is it useful to attackers? And how do attackers use PowerShell, right? So for those of us in here who do not know what PowerShell is, it's a tool that's on every Windows desktop, and typically it's enabled because it allows administrators to do mundane tasks that they would otherwise have to do through different portals. So what we're going to do is we are going to talk about it. So it's simply used for task automation. Applications rely on it. And you manage multiple machines at once through SCCM, Alteryx, whatever it may be, and we'll discuss why that is here in a few moments. But just to start, we'll start with a few statistics about PowerShell. So we see that 38% of all incidents seen by Black and its partners use PowerShell as part of an attack. So, and how do we come up with this number? Well, we have a question here called our partners. Right? So we have multiple partners in our that we work with, Maximum and multiple partners. We gather that data, and we found that 31%, so a third of all of our respondents reported receiving no security alerts prior to their investigation of PowerShell-related incidents. And then just a couple more statistics: 87% of the attacks leveraging PowerShell were using just commodity-based malware that you can download off the internet, and 13% of the attacks appear to be. So, as I stated, we go into what is PowerShell. It's built into Windows. Like I said, it's used for task automation. It can manage multiple machines. You can do more Windows GUI. And why do administrators use it? They use it for task automations such as LDAP, user management, file management, service management, and as you can't see up here, you would be able to see that it's available in most of the latest Windows version. If you want to make it more secure, you want to make sure you have the latest version, version 3. And why is it powerful to an attacker? Well, it's on the machine, right? Which is the main thing. And you don't have to drop any executables or anything to that effect to actually leverage the PowerShell, right? So we can collect intelligence, we can run applications, we can basically do all the mundane tasks we want to on the device we want to. So it allows the attacker to have a toolbox and allows them to live off the land, right? So ultimately, what that gives us is the ability to basically have a Swiss Army knife approach, as I have up here, where we can do DLL injections, I can run applications, I can grab data off the user's machine, I can do all that just by leveraging PowerShell on the user's machine. And then just to build on that is PowerShell is trusted and digitally signed by Microsoft. So in most scenarios, it's viewed as an application that's, or a solution that's a scripting tool that is trusted by Microsoft. Traditional antivirus will pay no attention to PowerShell. It's not an attacker tool. And that doesn't mean that PowerShell is bad. In fact, just as yours, many administrators rely on it. Just like administrators rely on similar tools for decades. However, we do better mechanisms to detect and prevent malicious use of PowerShell. And I'm going to go ahead and migrate into my demonstration here. But just keep in mind that here are just a few of the different malware that leverages PowerShell.
Hi folks, Geek here. Unfortunately, we had a bit of a video snafu, and we have no audio until about the 43-minute mark. Sorry for the inconvenience.
So after I've established a baseline of kind of my activity, if I start seeing a whole ton of HTTP redirects, another good case of, hey, it might be an anomalous condition here that we might want to investigate. Other things, DNS response information, where I can then basically extract based upon what we see across the network, A records, C name kind of records. Where are we trying to hit, for instance, from a DNS perspective? What are the response codes from DNS? It's the same thing. And also then, if I see kind of a larger level escalation of DNS response codes and short time to lose values, could be a pretty good indication of either a denial of service attack on those DNS servers, or somebody's actually injected themselves in that whole DNS chain. Including stuff like being able to extract information off that network, SSL certificate information. Who is the certificate authority? Who issued it? Was it a self-signed certificate? What is the certificate expiration date? All these seem to be very valuable clues based upon, now what's the key size, for instance? All these can be very valuable clues as to, is there sort of anomalous activity happening, once again, across that network? So those are some additional, some types of things you can actually extract. Including essentially things like user login and domain information. So being able to actually snoop Kerberos traffic. Give you that high-level information, present that over to a tool. So how do we use it? How do we actually use it? Typically the use model then would be enable and deploy the use of metadata, right, to kind of get at least a high-level activity of what's going on. And then, hey, we're back. Thank you. So what we're going to use this for, basically, right, is to use that metadata for really fast approximation. Hey, there's something strange going on, right? And I was able to see this just like when I got the alerts from my daughter when she was out in the Bahamas, right? High-level information then to kind of get and identify some anomalous activity. Then essentially then do full packet stream captures to get down into the weeds, right? And what's valuable then is if you have an architecture that kind of that whole theme of one of the ways that we also attack this problem is through the use of automation. So what if I have the ability to first of all generate that network metadata and have the ability through a programmatic interface in it, is to actually, based upon something that I see in my analytic tool, actually dynamically fire off a packet capture in the environment to get the deeper data that I need to solve the problem. Well, that's what you have with actually the GigaSECURE platform. So essentially, here's what we do with GigaMon, is we allow you to basically take data, regardless of where it is. If it's a physical network, if it's traffic inside a host somewhere in a virtualized environment, if it's a cloud application, for instance, it's in the AWS cloud, as a great example, bring that into our fabric, filter, forward that to a number of tools that need to consume packets. And that can be tools, security tools, once again, they can be out of band, they can essentially be inline as well. We provide some inline bypass architecture to allow you to feed that right tool, but not sacrifice the availability and performance of the network. But more importantly then, we use a specific feature here as our metadata engine. And that's our ability, essentially then, to generate NetFlow and IPFix extensions. So here's how we have implemented this whole metadata story. Because if you know, for instance, particularly with NetFlow version 9, and then also with IPFix, those are template-based architectures. Right? You create a template of basically that says, hey, here's the type of data I'm going to send you, and you send it the data. Right? So what GigaMon has done is actually created extensions with both NetFlow and IPFix that can capture exactly that same type of information that we've been talking about earlier. Essentially. Things like, once again, what's the HTTP response code? What are the URLs? What's the DNS information? SSL certificate information, specifically. So we use this, once again, as that metadata engine that essentially then can feed an analytics tool. And we'll talk a little bit about it. There's a couple of partners already that we work with that accept these feeds. And then essentially then we've got some others that are in development as well. So this whole method or model then essentially you take that high-level data, we can generate that high-level data. And oh, by the way, getting back to that whole automation aspect, the GigaSECURE platform basically has an integration point with it. We have an API associated with that. So what that would allow you to do from an automation perspective, this is actually what some folks have already done as well, is, for instance, they've used that API with Splunk to where they pick a situation, more specifically than not only Splunk, but the Splunk app for streaming. So what happens is that, right, Splunk's getting all this wonderful data, right? Wonderful data from, for instance, from log file information, from their Splunk forwarders. It's a great example. They get all this data in, you do some correlation within Splunk, and then if they determine that it's an anomalous situation, what they can do then is reach into our visibility fabric and create a specific filter for the thing that they need to investigate. That's really super automation, right? So that's kind of that whole concept, essentially, of the of how we build metadata, essentially. Okay. So it's done through the GigaSECURE platform with our metadata or netco IP fix extension. I actually had a short video here, but I know we're kind of running up against kind of the time clock here. I have this actually presentation up on SlideShare. So if you actually want to see how this works in action, go to slideshare.net, search for the keywords Gigamon metadata. And we'll give you a short demonstration of how this will work for a specific type of metadata. In this case, the information we can get from SSL certificate information, and also, more importantly, how that works in conjunction with Splunk. So we walk through a very quick scenario of, hey, here's what we've detected from an anomaly standpoint, and here's sort of the investigation that takes place. Great 50 video. I encourage you to go out and go check it out when you have a chance. Right? So from a Gigamon perspective, who's actually writing to these extensions that we've created from a control perspective? Well, we already have ClickServe, for instance. We already have Splunk. Like I said, you'll see the example of Splunk on the video as well. A number of other folks that are actually in development, you should be able to you'll see those extensions in their products within the next few months or so, for instance. So wide variety of vendors which are writing to these extensions. You know, by the way, one of the things that we're also doing as well is we're continually adding to those extensions. So things like extracting the Kerberos information, something that we have under development which will be available on our next product cycle. And then the other thing as well is if you also have some other extensions you think you'd like to actually have rolled into our product, we'd love to hear from you as well in terms of, hey, what else sort of makes sense? So if you get a chance, come by, stop by. We'll be here pretty much the entire day. We'd love to kind of talk and chat with you, right? So in summary, right, what we need is basically, because of this sort of speed and volume of data, right, we need to begin to move to kind of have analytic tools and to basically bring in and match and triangulate intent, the bad stuff, with context, the normal, the good stuff. Basically, the way to do that then would be through network-based metadata. But then also, more importantly, is to have an open, programmable platform that allows you to actually, once you feed that metadata, allow you to do and take some action for deeper investigation. And quite frankly, that's what the GigaSECURE platform allows you to do. So thanks once again. Like as I mentioned, is we have the presentation up on SlideShare. A couple of URLs here as well. We'll be here the rest of the day as well. Thanks a lot, and I'll hope to chat with you later. Thank you.
Thanks, John. So we're, once again, see the same recurring themes of time and visibility, and how they're fundamentally the problems that we're all trying to solve all the time, even if we're not thinking of it specifically ourselves. So it's going to be a great conference, and really excited to hopefully try and sneak in 60 programs. I'll be hanging out at the next table, which is right outside the door most of the day. Please come by, visit us, visit our sponsors, because while our hearts are pure and we try to talk security, our bosses are maybe a little more interested in what's in it for them. And with that, everybody have a great day. I got to get a selfie here. So everybody, just hang with me for a second and squeeze in. Oh. I can't work on the phone. Oh, that's
Bring it all back. You got a selfie stick?
No, I don't. But what I have is a great room full of people here. I think that's a good one. Thank you all very much. I also thought it was kind of funny how the only tables you could really see the presentation at were the ones over here where no one was sitting until the very end. So maybe think about that as you pick your seats in the room, and everybody have a great day.
Big thanks to Nexum. The breakout session will start at 10. Remember,